It's been a year since the deadly July unrest. The events in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal were described as a coordinated attack. It followed the arrest of former President Jacob Zuma, who'd been sentenced to jail after failing to abide by a constitutional court order to appear before the State Capture Commission.
Now, Newzroom Afrika's Karinda Jagmohan was part of our team of reporters covering those events as they unfolded on the ground. In fact, she joins us now live. Karinda, hard to believe that it's been a year for someone who was so close to the action, as I'm going to crassly say this morning. How do you reflect on 1 year ago?
Indeed, Michelle, it is quite hard to believe it's been a year since those deadly 8 days in July, especially because of what has happened since, including more events where people's lives have been lost. My colleague Karinda Jagmohan and I, who's behind the camera, we're actually here at Springfield Park, which was one of the sites where mass looting and destruction to infrastructure occurred. You'll see here this used to be a food drive-through, a takeout drive-through, and it was burnt during that week in July, that tragic week in July, and it still stands in this way. There has not been any repairs to it, and sadly this is also the state of many buildings in Durban. Let's take a walk inside Pilani as we reflect on this year. We were actually in escort on the night that the former president was incarcerated. It was in the early hours of the 8th of July when several luxury vehicles rolled into the Escort Correctional Center, one of them carrying the former president, due to start his 15-month jail term. However, we know that was short-lived, but that sparked the week that would be of violence and looting across KwaZulu-Natal, the former president's stronghold province, and Gauteng. Like you mentioned, more than 300 people died. And what we know that has happened so far is that in the week that followed, various authorities said that there would be instigators and perpetrators of this violence that would be identified and arrested. And while several instigators and looters have indeed been arrested, the architects of this, what the president has described as a coordinated attack, is yet to be officially identified and convicted before a court. Now, over the next week, of course, our team will be looking back on what happened, will be on the ground, and also going to various areas where we saw violence emanate, including Phoenix, which was one of the areas where we saw the rot of racism apparently emerge. And so we'll be speaking to these communities to look back on what they think happened during this time and what they think should happen going forward. Now, we'll also show you, Pilani will show you, that there are in some cases places where rebuilding is happening across the road. This is one shopping center which had factory shops that was completely destroyed during the unrest. In fact, we were on the ground here and we remember we've actually been reminiscing about how there were boxes of shoes and clothing just strewn across the grounds of the shopping center. But now since then there has been rebuilding, revamping underway here. But of course, still 50 billion rand lost from the local economy during this time. And of course, it is still unclear when, especially the families who lost their loved ones, more than 300 people having died across both provinces, will see justice or see any kind of closure to what happened during that time. And businesses like you see this one that were burnt down during those 8 days in July are still, many are still yet to be rebuilt. And sadly, in many cases as well, the owners, small business to medium business owners, have also essentially told us that they've given up on even rebuilding going forward because of the cost incurred by that. So it has been quite, that was quite an eventful week, and still it has been quite an eventful year, especially for KwaZulu-Natal, when we saw essentially the unrest stirred by both politics and poverty. Charles.
Thanks very much indeed. Those sobering reflections on the 8 days in July that happened now just a year ago.